I've got one question for you. Is AFSCME in the house? I said, is AFSCME in this house? You having fun, huh? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Now, I want to thank Lakeisha for that rousing introduction. Give her a round of applause. Wasn't she amazing? Show her some love. Show her some love. Delegates to our 45th International Convention, AFSCME family, how does it feel to be all together? How does it feel? Feel the energy. Feel the energy in this convention hall. Feel the power and feel the spirit of Jerry McEntee. Do you feel it? Do you feel it? You know, there really is no substitute for the adrenaline rush of being in the same room. There is nothing like being able to greet one another with a hug, make direct eye contact, feeding off of one another's energy. After so many long months of virtual meetings, we are able to be with each other at work sites, at local union meetings, at trainings and workshops, and now here in Philadelphia this week. We are all together. This is how we were meant to be, all together. But this convention theme isn't just a celebration of our return to in-person events. It's an expression of our core values. It captures the essence of what it means to be a part of this great AFSCME family. Altogether means that no matter what adversity you face, no matter how grueling the struggle, no matter how formidable the challenge, you always have backup. In every single fight, we are marching arm in arm, drawing strength from our solidarity, all together. You know, even when the COVID-19 pandemic kept us apart physically, it never divided us from one another. It never broke our will. It never sapped our power. And it most definitely has not stopped AFSCME members from doing the essential work that sustains our communities. That work has never been in greater demand. It has never been performed at a higher level under greater duress during a period of greater national trauma. Public services and the courageous people who provide them, that's what has gotten our entire country through this once-in-a-century crisis. Now that's a big responsibility, but that's just how we all roll. Public service isn't for the weak-willed or faint of heart. You didn't sign up to do this work just on the easy days. When your communities are in danger, you step up. You race to the front lines. You don't flinch or falter. You put the safety of your neighbors above your own. Even under the harshest, most harrowing working conditions, you do that every single day. When your phone rings and you answer the call, every single time. You know, I've been so moved by AFSCME member stories of service and sacrifice over the last 2 years. Every day you went to work, even in the early months of the pandemic when there wasn't enough PPE to go around. Every day you worried about bringing the virus home to your family. But every day you continued to serve, finding the strength to push through the fear, to push through the exhaustion. Sanitation workers continued their routes, even though social distancing is next to impossible inside those trucks. With school buildings closed, AFSCME K through 12 members packed and delivered meals to kids who were doing remote learning from home. Corrections officers fulfilled their public safety duties despite pulling double shifts in some of the most lethal COVID hotspots. And AFSCME nurses and healthcare workers held the hands of dying COVID patients whose families couldn't be there with them. I want to tell you about an act of incredible selflessness from several members of AFSCME Local 2690 in Illinois, Council 31. They work as direct support professionals at Trinity Homes, facilities for people with disabilities. Early in the pandemic, these members packed their bags, leaving behind their own families for several weeks, moving into the residential group homes and sheltering in place 24 hours a day. They wanted the people in their charge, people with special needs, to receive companionship and continuity of care at that anxious, uncertain moment. Never mind the risk. Never mind the personal sacrifice. That's what it means to answer the call. That's what it means to never quit. Every one of you here, every one of our 1.4 million members strong has a pandemic story to tell. You've got a story to tell. The guts and grit you have shown are nothing short of astonishing. You have never made me prouder or inspired me more. Look around you. Look around you. Look around this convention hall. Look at your neighbors. They have a powerful pandemic story to tell as well. So I'm going to ask you this. Why don't you all stand up? Stand up. Stand up and give yourselves a round of applause for everything that you've done. Give someone a hug or a fist bump for everything that you have done, because we are AFSCME. All right. You know, it took exceptional strength that lives in the heart of every single AFSCME member. Our AFSCME membership, they want to continue our service. You want to continue your service during the darkest days of this pandemic. And we bring that strength to bear in everything that we do, not just on the job, but in our activism and advocacy. When we're lobbying elected officials, at the bargaining table, in our organizing work, and in our political engagement. Same time that we were battling this virus, we were busy showing our strength in the halls of Congress. The pandemic wasn't just a public health crisis, it was also a fiscal crisis. You know that very well. State and local governments were bleeding red ink. Public services were on the chopping block. That's why we made the case every single day for a package of federal aid that would fill revenue gaps, save AFSCME jobs, and bring the economy back from the brink. All of you know this. All of you know that resistance was fierce. Some politicians said it was fine if states go bankrupt and you end up on the unemployment line. They were saying that's okay, that's fine. But when our livelihoods are at stake and our communities are threatened, we run through walls to get what we need, and we sure as hell don't take no for an answer, because we are AFSCME. We ran one of the biggest grassroots lobbying campaigns in our union's history, and we called it Fund the Front Lines. We lit a fire under members of Congress, calling and emailing their offices day after day, week after week, month after month. We pushed and pushed, but they still said no. So we kept pushing harder, but they still said no. So we just kept pushing. All together, we kept pushing until they said yes. You did that, AFSCME family. Yes to the American Rescue Plan. Yes to $350 billion in aid to states, cities, counties, and towns. Yes to robust federal investment that means canceled furloughs, higher staffing levels, and hard-earned raises for thousands upon thousands of public service workers. You did that. That's what happened. That's what happens when we show our strength. That's what happens when we stand together and refuse to stand down. That's what happens when we raise our voice. That's what happens when we raise some hell. But it wouldn't have happened without a change in leadership in Washington, a change we delivered with our political power. During the 2020 election cycle, we mobilized in overwhelming numbers. And we did it by innovating under unprecedented conditions. We executed a campaign, all of us, without the benefit of a single rally or in-person event, without the ability to knock on a single door. And we didn't just elect a new president, and we did that. We shocked the pundits by winning not one but two runoff elections in the state of Georgia, flipping control of the U.S. Senate and allowing President Biden to move a bold pro-worker agenda. You did that. Now let's just look at the record. In addition to the American Rescue Plan, we also have an historic new infrastructure bill that is rebuilding our communities while creating good union jobs. The Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program has been overhauled after years of dysfunction, helping 113,000 people get relief from crushing student debt. We also have a Union Brothers Secretary of Labor in Marty Walsh, and the first African-American woman ever on the United States Supreme Court, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. We did that. Now let me be very clear. There are still plenty of unfinished business, plenty of challenges this administration still needs to meet, no question. But here is the bottom line. This is the most pro-worker, pro-union White House of our lifetimes, period. Full stop, bar none. But the progress we have made under this administration and any hope for further progress is on the ballot this year. We have to defend the thinnest of majorities in the House and in the Senate. And in state races where the rubber really meets the road, as you all know, there are 36 governorships in control of several state legislative chambers up for grabs. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, AFSCME family. We've got to get it done in a very difficult political environment. I'm asking you to have conversations with your coworkers, to register voters, to get folks to the polls. I'm asking you to dig deep to put pro-worker candidates over the top in November. And when I say dig deep, I'm talking about your wallet too. Our political success depends on your financial support for our People program. This is our chance. This is our chance to elect the folks who make decisions affecting our pay and affecting our benefits. The investment we make in people pays for itself several times over when we have allies in office. Over the last few years, we have used our power to deliver meaningful change in so many ways. The American Rescue Plan strengthened our negotiating hand, allowing us to secure good contracts across the country. Before the new law, many employers tried to put the squeeze on us, coming to the table demanding givebacks, demanding takebacks. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? But after the president signed the American Rescue Plan, we were able to turn the tables, getting the fair deals and the pay increases we have earned. In Nevada in the House, Local 4041 members went to the table with the state, except there was no table because all negotiating sessions were virtual. Under these unique and adverse conditions, the bargaining team forged even tighter bonds of trust, committing to the process even though they were never able to strategize in person. Now get this. One member of the team even logged into the bargaining from his COVID hospital bed, turning off his camera only while he was receiving oxygen. That's how hungry he was. That's how hungry 4041 was for a voice on the job. And they have a voice on the job. And when it was all said and done, Local 4041 got a deal that stacks up favorably next to some of our best state contracts across this country. In California, 40,000 child care providers capped off 17 years of organizing by negotiating and ratifying their first contract, winning pay increases of 15% or more. Let's hear it for United Domestic Workers AFSCME, Local 3930, for their incredible resilience. These everyday heroes, most of them women of color, have a tremendous responsibility. Working families trust child care providers with the development, safety, and well-being of their children. What's more important than that? Finally, these providers, overworked and undervalued for so long, are getting the respect they deserve for the essential services that they provide. The last time we met in person, Nevada state employees and California child care providers didn't even have collective bargaining rights. But because of our political strength, because of the influence we have with elected officials in those states, we passed groundbreaking laws that made it happen. And we didn't stop there. Workers in Arlington and Alexandria, Virginia now have collective bargaining rights. Maryland public defenders and community college workers now have collective bargaining rights. And 6 weeks ago, nearly 38,000 county employees in Colorado now have collective bargaining rights. That is AFSCME in action. And we will not rest. We will not rest until everyone who works in public services has collective bargaining, because we deserve to be at the table and not on the menu. Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? AFSCME family, we have no greater obligation, and there is no greater illustration of our strength than to grow our union by asking more public service workers to hop on board the green mean machine. Organizing is the lifeblood of our union. Under the best of circumstances, that is no easy task. But organizing during a pandemic with restrictions on face-to-face meetings for months on end is like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall. But we have continued to lean into this work every single day. with determination, and with discipline. Nearly 42,000 new members, I'm going to repeat that. Nearly 42,000 new members have organized with AFSCME since the beginning of the pandemic. That is AFSCME in action. Hospital and healthcare workers are organizing with our union. Just look at McLean Hospital in Massachusetts, where registered nurses, mental health specialists, and community residence counselors prevailed over a ruthless union-busting campaign. And now, because of their vigilance and their commitment, they are a part of AFSCME Council 93. In New York City, in New Jersey, in Oregon, we have succeeded in securing labor peace for behavioral health and human services workers. That means private employers in those sectors have to let their workers organize free of any interference, free of intimidation. In other words, no union busting. Cultural workers are organizing with AFSCME all across the country. There's a growing movement nationwide of workers at libraries and museums and other cultural institutions who are discovering the union difference. They are the stewards of cherished community resources. But for too long, they have been diminished. For too long, they've been devalued by their employers. Now, this is a young and dynamic workforce bringing fresh energy to the fight for worker justice. And they are choosing AFSCME as the union that can best represent them, that allows them to hold the boss accountable, that gives them the power and protections they all need. Our organizing momentum in the sector is strong, and it is growing every single day. From Los Angeles to Minneapolis, from Chicago to Columbia, Missouri, from New York City to right here in Philadelphia. Now, early in the pandemic, workers at the Philadelphia Museum of Art voted overwhelmingly to form a union with AFSCME District Council 47, Local 397. But 2 years later, they still don't have a contract. Management is still dragging their feet, still making excuses, still refusing to compromise on core economic security issues. This is an extremely wealthy museum with a big budget and a healthy endowment. They're paying a high-priced union buster instead of paying their workers a living wage. Sound like a familiar story? Last month, when this city hosted the AFL-CIO convention, hundreds of working people from across the labor movement joined AFSCME on the steps of the museum to demand a fair contract. But even with that, management refuses to do the right thing. So, AFSCME family, we're going right back there later this week for another rally, together with community partners and other allies. And this time, we're not bringing a few hundred people, we're bringing a few thousand, aren't we? Because the Mean Green Machine has rolled into Philadelphia. We've rolled into town, and we're going to make some noise. We're going to turn up the heat. We're going to show our power. I expect every single one of you to join us. Join us on Wednesday to continue this fight for respect. Will you do that? I didn't hear you. Will you do that? I know all of you are going to be there to show solidarity with our AFSCME family at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. All of us will be there. That's our responsibility. You know, we often talk about the strength of our union. But what do we mean by that? What do we mean? Where does that strength come from? How is it measured? Is it the size of our membership? Is it the number of dollars your local has in the bank? Is it the number of endorsed candidates we carry to victory? I submit to you that it isn't really any one of those things. Our strength comes from the individual commitment and contribution that each member brings to our union. Our strength comes from the passion each of you has for public service. We have strength because of who we are to our communities, who we are to our families, who we are to each other. We show strength and we build strength every time we push back against injustice. We show strength and we build strength every time we speak truth to power. We show strength and we build strength when we reach out to newly hired public service workers, asking them to sign a card and join our union. We show strength and we build strength every time we look a coworker in the eye and have a one-on-one conversation about the value the union adds and the difference the union makes. There's even strength in the most modest gestures of union fellowship, like wishing someone happy birthday or happy anniversary, or an annual picnic organized by your local, or group outings to a minor league baseball game. These things tighten our family bonds, fostering a sense of community, creating a sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself. After all, isn't that what being in a union is all about? These forms of connection are a critical source of strength at a time when a toxic, hyper-partisanship political environment threatens to divide us from one another. It's bad out there. One of our greatest resources of strength is our unwavering commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a foundational AFSCME value, a solemn obligation we will never abandon. And we must fight for racial justice both in the larger society and also inside our own house. We can't just be advocates for racial justice. We have to be practitioners of racial justice. Think about it. Think about it. And we have to continue to defend all the freedoms currently under attack by the United States Supreme Court, which wants to take us back to the dark ages on civil rights, on voting rights, on workers' rights, on reproductive rights, and so many other issues. We've got to stand up and say, hell no, we aren't going to take it anymore, and we're going to make our voices heard, because that is who we are. We are AFSCME. We aren't going to take this. We can't. AFSCME family, above all, our strength comes from our unity. Our strength comes from our solidarity. The confidence of knowing I have your back and you have mine. That there is always a convoy behind you. That you're never alone in the fight. That we're always all together. When you're in contract negotiations and the other side won't budge, we are all together. When you're in the trenches on a high-stakes legislative or political campaign, we are all together. When you're in the middle of a brutal organizing campaign and the boss is using every divisive, underhanded trick in the book, you're not out there on your own. We are all together. All together, AFSCME. Show me Show me that we're all together, AFSCME family. If you're a leader in your local union, whatever your position, stand up. Stand up. If you've asked potential members to join our union and you're ready to do it again, then stand up and show me what all together looks like. If you've ever marched on the boss, if you've ever knocked on doors, if you've ever served as a volunteer member organizer, stand up. Stand up and show me what all together looks like. If you want to honor the memory of Jerry McEntee, if you want to recommit to the work he devoted his life to, stand up and show me what all together looks like. All together, AFSCME. What is the source? What is the source of our pride and power? We are all together. When you're AFSCME strong, do you ever have to go into battle alone? Hell no, because we are all together. What makes the Green Knee Machine the biggest, the baddest, the boldest union in the entire labor movement? It's because we are all together. We're all together right here in Philadelphia. We're all together all across this country. And when we are all together, there is no force that can stop us. AFSCME family, are we all together? I'm going to ask that question again. Are we all together? Let's make some noise. Let Philadelphia hear